Hey everybody, my name is Ryan Armstrong, and this channel is Apologetics for Christians. It has been almost 6 years, just shy of maybe 2 weeks since just 2 weeks shy of 6 years since my last video that I posted on here. And I actually forgot completely about this channel up until relatively recently. I realized that these videos are still uploaded and people still watch them, I guess. And I decided that I would try and figure out how to get back into my Google account. And I got into it today, which is cool, I guess. I just wanted to start this video out by saying I'm not a Christian. And I haven't been a Christian for a long time. The last video that I posted was on May 10th of 2013. And at the time, I was studying my philosophy degree at the University of Memphis, which I now have a bachelor's in philosophy. Totally useless. It's funny how terrible situations make you look back and you can kind of laugh at them, even though you're still dealing with all the shit that was in it. Sorry for the language for those of you who wanted a more wholesome video. But I got back into my Google account, my old Google account, like 3 Google accounts ago, and I actually found out that I had the same phone number from back then, which is crazy because I could have swore that I changed it, and I was like, I'm never going to be able to remember my old password, or hell, I didn't even know my old email address. So finally got back into it. So I was looking through some of the videos that I had posted, and for one, clearly my worldview has changed quite a bit since then. And this is not a video to bash anybody. I'm not anti-Christian. I'm not pro-atheist. It's not, don't cut it so simple, because it's not simple. Basically, things happened in my life that caused me to stop caring about that kind of stuff. And I'll be honest, it's freeing, the feeling of not having to worry about, am I going to make God angry, or do I have to pray here and there, what kind of political views do I need to have in order to be a good Christian, a good American Western Christian. I just felt like that I needed to post a video on here for my wonderful 50 subscribers. Sorry, I'm probably offending most of you if you are watching this, and I apologize. That's kind of funny, apologetics. I'm apologizing on my apologetics channel. Two totally different meanings anyway. But going back from that interesting segue, I just wanted to say that at the time that I made those videos, I was in a good relationship, not with a Christian. I was in a relationship with I guess you could say she was an agnostic. I was engaged. We had been together for, this is all going to make quite a bit more sense once I'm finished with the story, I promise. But basically, she decided that, after almost 7 years in a relationship, and we had already booked venues, the venue for the wedding and all this other stuff, that she wanted to go off with someone else, namely one of my best friends. They're married now. They're living a happy life, I guess. I don't know pretty much anything about them now, which is how I'd like to keep it, I'm in a great relationship now. We're both non-Christian. As you can see, we have like a little quaint apartment, living life, I've found decent work despite the fact that I got a useless degree, which is cool. So decent job. living good, pretty much. But after I posted that video, or after I posted the last video, it was probably about a year and 3 or 4 months or something like that whenever the relationship fell apart. I stopped posting on YouTube a while back just because I think I'd mentioned in one of my last videos I was watching, I had my computer crash, and so I was having to upload these videos like at the university, and it was not something that was ideal, so I just stopped doing that. So it just kind of fell off. I don't know if there was like a cliffhanger on anything. Sorry if anybody was actually invested in anything I had to say about anything. But I just wanted to tell you a little bit about what I've went through in the past few years, not just relationships or anything like that, but around the time, actually, I think it was the fall of that year that I had posted that last video. It was like fall of 2013. I took a class, philosophy of religion, which was right up my alley, It was right up my alley. And I had a professor there who, basically we broke down the Bible as literature, not as a sacred text or anything like that. So it wasn't like going to church and them, telling you what the scripture means or anything like that. It was you reading it as if an author had wrote it, which they did, multiple ones. And, during that class, I was still very staunchly Christian. And I was still, as you say, on fire for God. And at the time, I really didn't like the things that he said in the class, but I did it because I needed the credits. And so, yeah, I took that. I studied Jewish mysticism and Judaic studies, Holocaust studies. I studied continental philosophy. Basically, I tried to come to grips with the horrible nature of the world. And I didn't actually flesh out these ideas until after I had graduated. I graduated in December of 2014 from the University of Memphis. I got a bachelor's degree in philosophy and a minor in religious studies, with a concentration in Judaic studies. So I was very into, trying to reconcile Jewish faith and Christian faith, and trying to wrestle with these ideas of like the evils that can happen in the world, namely like the Holocaust. And I was really interested in a lot of stuff like that. And basically, after my relationship, my whole life revolved around this relationship. I wouldn't have went to college. Kind of wish I wouldn't have in hindsight. I guess nobody can take away my education, so I guess there's that. But my whole life revolved around this thing, and whenever she left me, I was severely depressed. Suicidal thoughts. Pretty much I was left in a barren apartment with a futon, a desk for my computer to sit on that she so graciously let me use until our lease was up a couple months later. And I had a gun. So it's not a very good recipe for a happy life. And I was very sad for a very long time. And so my whole worldview was being questioned. I had these preconceived notions like, I'm going to go to college, I'm going to get a good job, I'm going to have a beautiful wife, maybe have some kids. And you're hearing the traffic from the road. I live right on a highway. So, after all that happened, it just shattered my worldview. And boy, have things changed. Things have changed so much since 2013. So I wouldn't say that I lost my faith in one particular moment. It was basically like I graduated from college. Everything's, I'm still like, oh, I'm a Christian. I'm just not like religious. That's what a lot of people in the South say. Like, I'm a Christian. Like, I believe in God. I believe in Jesus Christ. And I believe I believe that the Bible is 100% true, but I'm just not religious. Like, I don't go to church. I don't pay tithes. I don't go to Sunday school or, whatever. Like, I don't do any of that. That's the religious part of it. That's what people here in the South like to say. Of course, I went to the University of Memphis, so I'm from Tennessee. So there you go. After that relationship fell apart, I decided that I wanted to rekindle some of my old passions, namely music. When I was in high school, I was a drummer for the high school marching band, and I was the drum captain for 2 years. And I kept telling her, I'm going to say this, another segue. Should have seen it coming. We were definitely not compatible. I really wanted it to be, but it's great if she's having a great life. That's fine. I just don't want to know anything about it. That's all I got to say about that. But she always would say, I don't want you to have a drum set. Even though I kind of, I was like, I want to have a drum set in this house that we're going to get, we're going to have an extra room, even if we do have kids, so I can't have a drum set. She said it was childish, immature, and all this stuff. So I got the ring back, and I sold it, and I bought a drum set, and I joined a band with some of the greatest people ever in my life. The lead guitarist of my band, he reached out to me during that difficult time. And he says, is definitely because he went through something similar, but also he was totally trying to scout me for a drummer because they needed a drummer bad. And I hadn't played for 5 years, pretty much since I was in college. So he was trying to get me in the band too. And I ended up joining the band. And we've been making music for almost 5 years now. Yeah, almost 5 years. Because I started in that band in September 2014. And I will say, I do distinctly remember that when I first joined the band, I still had the views that I do. But there was a few things that made me think otherwise about it. And there's a video on this page, on this YouTube channel, that I absolutely hate. And that was my video on homosexuality. And if you watch that and you are offended, I am very sorry for whatever, I honestly didn't even watch the video again. I know it's horrible. And I know the things that I talked about on this channel were horrible and terrible. I thought I was right, at the time, but worldviews change, life experiences happen, and you get new perspectives, and that's kind of like the point of living, in my opinion. So during that time, I'm in a band who has my rhythm guitarist and my singer, who are both women, and they are married. And I went to their wedding, definitely. I was in their wedding. I was a groomsman, which was cool. Actually, that wasn't even the first gay wedding that I went to. But other interesting segues, gone. Put those to the side. Man, traffic's crazy. So, basically what I want to say is the things that I said in these videos, which I'm going to keep them up. This is mainly for a reminder to myself about how a person can change in crazy ways. And some of you are going to hate this, and some of you are going to love it and relish in it. and there's one particular subscriber. I was actually rereading some of the comments. I'm not gonna say your username. Honestly, if you look through the videos, you're gonna know who I'm talking about. But one guy always felt like he was heckling me all the time, and it was super, it bothered me like really bad. And I will say that, rereading some of the comments, it probably wasn't the best way to try and sway me away from, whatever crazy worldviews I had at the time was. But you did have some interesting points, and I'm not going to say you're wrong, but probably wasn't the right way to go about it. My dog's snoring on the couch, or on my bed. So this is a completely informal sort of video. You don't see the text scrolling on the screen or any other stupid mumbo jumbo going on. I'm just wanting to tell you a little bit about the worldview that I've come to know and that I've come to accept in my life. And whether you feel this way or not is up to you. And honestly, I don't really care either way, because I don't think it really matters. But if I had to pinpoint a certain worldview that I have, it would probably be nihilism. And a lot of people, that sounds kind of dark, cynical, and scary sounding, like nihilism. Oh, he believes in nothing. Well, it's not generally what it is. Nihilism is merely the concept of life has no inherent meaning. So while I believe that my life doesn't really have a meaning, it doesn't mean that I can't give it meaning by living my life in a certain way and being a good person, trying to leave the world better than when I came into it, trying to spread positivity and all kinds of stuff. And I do a podcast, which is why I got this awesome mic, and I have a decent camera. I have a friend, me and him, we do podcasts and we do Let's Plays here on YouTube. We just started back. I really just started back uploading on YouTube. Like, really, the channel just started this past month, and it's crazy because the last time I ever did this was back in like 2013. It's really insane. But so yeah, I'm a nihilist, and I don't believe in God, and I'm not a Christian. And I think that's okay. And whether you think that's okay is, completely up to you. But there's nothing you can do for me. Another thing I'd like to point out is I just got educated on stuff. Not saying that a lot of people, family members included, like to think that college is something that corrupts you. Like, oh, it's necessary to get a good job. Like, they want you to go to college, but they don't want you to lose your conservative values because you go to a college, because they think that, lecturers and professors and stuff, all they do is brainwash kids into all thinking the same way. And I don't think that way. I don't think that everybody thinks the exact same that goes to college. That's kind of stupid. Like, I was friends with all sorts of people in college, but I educated myself on a lot of stuff. I relearned the concept of evolution. Which I will say, I don't think I ever really bought into the idea that the earth is only 6,000 years old. I had preachers and youth pastors preach that to me. I'm pretty darn sure I never genuinely believed that was a thing. I'm pretty sure that I would have just taken the kind of metaphorical meaning of Genesis, back then. I really don't think I ever had that idea. But I educated myself on, evolution, Big Bang, learned about quantum physics. There's some great channels on here. SciShow, watch Neil deGrasse Tyson, Bill Nye. It's really crazy because those are people that are like vilified by a lot of the Christian a lot of the Christian followers and stuff is because, it questions their faith and stuff. I will say that I think that apologetics kind of brought me to it because I opened myself up to argumentation from the other side. And I'm not going to say that like it eventually just wore down on me, because I really don't think it ever did. What happened was life experience. Shit happens. And when your life falls apart and you feel like you've done nothing to deserve it, that changes a lot of things. Like, I can sit here and make a video talking about, oh, well, God lets evil things happen in the world because of, some XYZ divine plan. But really, what it comes down to, for me, is that it is a more pleasing and more logical and way easier to understand point of view to just say that it doesn't matter, that there is no God. It was, this universe began 14 some odd billion years ago, and through the process of evolution, there comes a creature, an animal, that develops a large enough brain to have the capacity to reason. And, we have societal structures, and there's animals that have that too, It's easier to come to that conclusion. I didn't ask to be born. I didn't ask to be born into a world where I need to die. But then again, when you think about it, before you were born, you don't remember anything. Before you were born, do you miss, like I was born in 1992. Like, do I miss, corn dogs at the dairy bar in the 1950s? No, I wasn't there. I didn't do it. So why should it bother me that I'm going to die one day? And so I contemplated my own death for a long time. Not saying that I was suicidal. I was suicidal after that terrible breakup. That was horrible. But not suicidal thoughts, but just thoughts thinking about death. And I think it's healthy for people to do that. But basically, my worldview is like an optimistic nihilism sort of point of view. Kurzgesagt has a good video that kind of sums up my worldview pretty well. It's easy to become sort of religiously offended at the idea that life has no meaning. But to me, it is very liberating. And the reason is because I can make my life whatever I want it to be and not have to feel guilty about it. I mean, albeit without harming other people. Like if I was like a murderer or something, like going around killing people, that would be a whole different story. But what I'm saying is, while there are some moral, absolute morality out there, generally, as long as you are happy and as long as you are helping others and being a good person, that's all you're required to do as a human being. That and survive and maybe reproduce. I don't want any kids anymore. And who knows? 10 years from now, I might be like, oh boy, was I wrong. And I think it's healthy to have good introspection in your life. And I'm not saying that I've become like ultra enlightened just because I've lost my faith in God. But I will say that I feel liberated, and I feel like I'm definitely a more compatible individual. Like, I'm not some anti-Christian activist. If Christianity works for you and it makes you live a good life and you feel good, more power to you. You should do it. But, big but here. Big but. Do not try to interfere in non-believers or other people's lives based on your worldview. I don't run around screaming, God is dead and we have killed him. I don't run around saying like, oh, you don't have to tie the church because God isn't real. Like, I'm not some douchebag atheist who's going to dog you because of your belief. I'm merely stating that live and let be, live and let live. It's already a stupid enough world without people arguing over things that they can't prove. So why even bother doing it? You do you, I'll do me, and we'll both be happy in the end. And, you know, I'm pretty sure that someday I'm going to die, and I'm going to be perfectly fine with it. Because it's just the natural order of things. Everybody dies. And I've just come to accept it. So, without further ado, and without further traffic interference over here, I'm not really going to edit this video, so sorry if it's kind of me. But, I guess everybody have a great night, and if you see me around on YouTube, well, hey, you know where I came from. Y'all take it easy.